This is for you, Ruth. I know we argued and fought, that I hurt you and you hate me. But I'm sorry, I just need you to know what happened. That I'm sorry. I've tried calling you, I don't know why. I've tried calling 911, but it's not working. It's just silent. I'm at the cabin right now, the one we stayed at during our anniversary. It's a lot different now, though. When I first opened the door, I remembered the cozy fireplace and the beautiful wooden walls that kept us warm the entire night. It wasn't like that. It seemed animals had gotten in and ransacked the place, tearing away at every soft surface and tracking nature's elements all over the floor. The couch cushions were torn to shreds, with deep gouges in them and stuffing flowing out. It was hardly a home. Still, I had nowhere else to go, so I closed the door and tried to make myself at home. The fireplace still worked, and I took no hesitation in lighting up a log to keep myself warm. Then I went to investigate the situation in the rest of the house. Mud and other less sanitary substances covered the hardwood. Animal tracks covered every inch of the forest floor that was now brought into the house. Looked like deer tracks to me, but I'm not an expert. There were so many tracks, all going over each other in strange paths, ending and starting inexplicably. And the stampede almost looked purposeful in its hectic nature, but it was too filthy to tell. I tried to clean it up with a mop, but it was thoroughly baked into the floor, so I gave up. The kitchen was in a similarly bad situation. Every cupboard was flung open and broken into, with cans split open and abandoned with nothing left inside. The fridge was similarly useless, with empty boxes and containers being torn open. I had been hoping to use the food storage already in the cabin to bunker down for a while, but that was impossible. Lastly, I checked the bedroom, the only room in the cabin obscured behind a door. Before the door even opened, I could tell it was bad. It was dark, the lights were broken, and the moon didn't show anything in the room. But the light from the fire in the living room lit up just enough for me to see. There was a figure lying in the bed. I screamed and started to give explanations as to why I was there. But I stopped myself as I realized the figure was motionless despite my noise. So I stepped closer and reached out to see what it was. Its wet, sticky hair filled my palm, coming away as I grabbed it. As soon as I touched it, the smell burst out with a wheeze, assaulting my nose and eyes. It's the worst thing I've ever smelt, Ruth. It burned at my eyes and nose and I puked. It was only after looking back from the floor that I saw the antlers shadow in the dark. It was a buck, the largest buck I'd ever seen. It had to be as large as my car and its antlers. The antlers were like nothing I've ever seen. They twisted in every direction, wrapping around each other and branching into different paths. It reminded me of a tree with sparse leaves of fur and venison sprouting out from the body. I tried to drag it into the living room and get it out of the bed, but its fluids had rooted it to the sheet a long time ago. It wasn't moving. Giving up, I decided I'd instead wash the warm blood off my hands and clothes. It burned against my skin but came off easily enough under the faucet. Nonetheless, I still stayed in the cabin. I had to stay somewhere and any of our friends wouldn't have understood. So I tried to sleep on the couch, closing the door to the bedroom to prevent the smell from getting to me as best I could. I didn't get any sleep. I haven't in a while. There were noises the entire night from the bedroom, grunts and snorts and bleats, but that's not it. I swear some of them sounded like a person making deer noises, but I checked the cabin from top to bottom and there is no one else here. It's just me and the deer. It was the next day when I first started to feel it. It was just a mild headache at first, like any old head cold. but it got worse fast. By the end of the day, it felt like I had a concussion, just a constant throbbing pain in my head. It felt like something was worming its way through my brain, carving through my thoughts. It still feels like that. I didn't get much accomplished the entire day. The pain made it hard to focus, and I even debated going to the hospital. But I knew that would be a bad idea. You were my emergency contact after all, and that would just cause more problems again. With nothing else to do, I wanted to get a better look at the bedroom with the morning light. That was a mistake. The second I opened the door, the noxious odor returned with more force, causing me to gag. Looking at the body now, though, I noticed how strange it truly was. The antlers weren't growing out of the head as I had initially thought. You must believe me, Ruth. The antlers were the head. Even worse, I could now see the slight shuddering of the deer's chest. I didn't sleep that night either. It was after another sleepless night when I first felt the bumps. I hadn't moved from the couch in the entire night, just holding my head to try and ease the pressure. Then I felt it. A small, solid bump on my temple like a calcium deposit. When I ran my finger across it, the pain immediately multiplied, causing me to scream and stop my prodding. But by the end of the day, even laying on the pillows of the couch pushed against the bumps along my head. I could feel tens of points, maybe even hundreds, where it felt like I was being shot in the head with the bullet being scraped out at the same time. New pains had also appeared. I could barely see out of my left eye, which was now burning hot with pain, and I suffocated on every breath with my throat almost full. Time lost meaning after that. Between my exhaustion and the constant pulsing pain, I couldn't keep track of what was happening. I want to say it was only an hour later when the first one popped, but it could have been more. But when the blood trickled down to my face, I was given new energy. Despite the pain, I touched where the bump had previously been. It was sharp, stabbing into my finger as soon as I touched it. Moving my hand, though, it was like smooth, wet bone protruding from my head. It felt like an antler. I didn't dare move from my place on the couch, though. With every movement now, my head felt like it was going to burst. It wasn't long after that my eye popped. It was such a sudden sound, like a grape popping and shriveling up. Seeing your own shriveled eye skewered on bone, slowly growing out of your face is a whole other sight, like nothing you can ever imagine. I don't know why, but it was at that exact moment that I decided, whatever the case, I needed to go to the hospital. It was obviously way past the point, but seeing my eye is what woke me from my exhaustion. My phone was luckily still in my pocket, so I didn't have to get up. As soon as I pushed the emergency button, though, it was like I said. It rang, but when it finally connected, there was no operator on the other side. I tried calling anybody in my contacts to see if they would connect, but it was the same thing. Even random numbers had no one on the other side. There was nobody else. Just me. It's useless now anyway. It wasn't long after that both my eardrums burst, and even though I can't hear anything else, I still hear the antlers growing, scraping against each other inside my skull. I feel it. Lost the ability to speak as well. At first, it was just toothaches, minor with everything else. Even when my teeth fell out and the new bone that pushed its way forward wrapped around each other, the pain was still constant. More pain is still constant drumming pain. After that, there was a lot of snapping and my jaw broke. I think some of the antlers pushed their way out of my mouth, but I don't know for sure. It's just so hard to think, to keep it all together as my head comes apart. I don't really know, it's hard to think to even say all of this. It hurts to think through the antlers. But I have to. I don't know how much longer I have, but I know it's not enough. I can feel the pieces of me skewered out in different directions, growing further and further apart. I'm sorry for hurting you, Ruth. I loved you and still hurt you. So this is my prize. I just wanted to see you in the end, but it's all coming apart. Me. You. Us. I'm sorry.